Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Polity Quick Revision series. So in this video, we'll talk about the pardoning power of the president. So here we'll take a look at different terminologies. What is pardon, what is commutation, what is reprieve, what is respite, what is remission, and we'll also be comparing the pardoning power of the president in the center with that of the governor in the state. So without any further delay, let's get started.
If I ask you what are the powers and the functions of the president, you have powers, executive powers, you have legislative powers, you have financial powers, you have judicial powers, you have diplomatic powers, you have military powers, and you have certain powers during your emergency. Okay, so in judicial powers, there is a particular topic and introduces many new terms. Okay, again, something that we could get confused with. Okay, we'll take a look at this. So Article 72 of the Constitution empowers the president to grant pardons. Okay, so pardoning power of the president. Okay, so grant pardons to persons who have been tried and convicted of any offense in the cases. So what is it? So punishment or sentence for against a union law. Union, okay, not a state. President to union law. Okay, make that connection. Second one is by a court martial, military. So not a state related thing, but more of a center thing. So president, okay, for a military court or a court martial. Do you guys know what is a court martial? So court martial is when the military or the military court can award punishments to members of the military who've done something wrong. Okay, so most militaries around the world will have a particular sort of a court martial system to try to take cases, okay, in which the sort of discipline or their rules are sort of broken. Okay, so those are your court martials. Okay, those are your court martials. And when a sentence is a sentence of death. Okay, so if it is a death sentence. By the way, court, have you guys seen this movie, A Few Good Men? It's Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. Anyway, so in this one, basically, the lawyer here is Tom Cruise, right? At the same time, you have a very sort of a senior. I think they're from the Marines. Okay, and Jack Nicholson will be there, and then he is being tried. And so some really famous dialogues are there in this particular movie. In case anybody has watched it, it's a very good movie. Again, from I think it is before your birth. Okay, early 90s. Good movie. Anyway, so that is your court martial. So in those circumstances, it is the president's power to even to sort of pardon them. Okay, nobody else has power there. Okay, so why do we need this? What are the important things that we have to understand about the pardoning power of the president? See, there are a couple of things that we want to keep in mind. First thing is that it is not like a court of appeal. It's not a court of appeal, meaning when we said that the court martial decides something and then this goes to the president as like an appeal. Okay, or if it's a union law and then it goes to, so Supreme Court, let us say, has given a death sentence or approved of a death sentence that has come from lower courts. This is not an appeal from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is supposed to be the last. But however, still it means, okay, it still means that you keep the door open for correcting any sort of errors, okay, and to provide some sort of a relief if you feel it is unduly harsh. Now, so these are the reasons. Now, when I say this, does it mean pardoning power of the president, is this the president's power? Or again, is it like, Council of Ministers power? Or, is the decision by the president or is it the Council of Ministers?
Council of Ministers.
So meaning, so when Pranab Mukherjee or Pratibha Patil or, President Kovind, generally, towards the end of their tenure, they'll take a look at all of these and then they will decide, what to do with it. So you're saying that is not the president, but it is the Council of Ministers there also?
I mean, president has to act on the advice of Council of Ministers.
Okay, wonderful. So that was Aishwarya, is that right? Your Council of Ministers, your cabinet, whatever it is, right? Council of Ministers. Okay, so this is what you have to keep in mind. So even when we say it's the pardoning power of the president, it is still the pardoning power of, the ministers, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, even with, in terms of pardoning, there are a few terms you want to keep in mind. The first one is pardon. So pardoning basically means completely absolving from all punishments. Okay, from completely absolving from all punishment. I have pardoned you for your sin. I have pardoned you for your sin. Okay, whatever it is that you have done. So pardoning is sort of clear. What about commutation? Commutation is substitution. It denotes the substitution of one form of punishment. Okay, and in place you actually give a lighter form. An example that is given in your Laxmikanth is that a death sentence can be commuted to a rigorous imprisonment. Okay, to a rigorous imprisonment. So meaning, let us say that there is a person who is, can you tell me any particular case, any particular death sentence that is still sort of pending in our courts that you may have read of in the read about in the last few months?
So the first lady who was supposed to be hanged, I don't remember her name, Jamila or Malini.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so generally what we say is rarest of rare. Rarest of rare. And currently we have 370 something, 371. This is on death row. Okay, and first lady. So that's interesting. What was she death penalty for what reason?
She killed her own husband and children in order to marry another guy, Shabnam.
Okay, okay. No, I'm not aware of that particular case. But generally, you will notice cases like rape, murder, or Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. Do you guys know about this? Okay.
Yes.
So these are like high profile sort of cases, and these are cases that are sort of left to fester. Okay, and there is never going to be a solution to it. Um, you know, so I mean, read about this. Okay, this is there. It's almost like an annual sort of an occurrence. Should it be given? Should it not be given? What should what is the central government saying? What exactly is the state government saying? What is the judiciary? So all of that. Okay, so there is. So when there is a death sentence, you can actually sort of commute or commutation can take place, and then it could be a rigorous imprisonment. I remember watching a movie long time ago in which somebody is about to be hanged. Okay, and just that particular morning there is there's some sort of a telegram or something comes in that basically says that no death sentence. Okay, he's not going to be hanged. Okay, so I thought he's going to be they're going to open the jail and then this person is going to walk off, but it was not so. So from death sentence it has been commuted to a rigorous imprisonment, so meaning he can stay in jail, okay, without being hanged. Okay, without being hanged. Okay, so that is what. So just keep this in mind: commutation, substitution, commutation, substitution. Okay, next one. Remission is reduction. Remission is reduction. So this means the period of the sentence, okay, could be reduced without changing the nature of the sentence. So for instance, let us say that, a rigorous imprisonment for 2 years can be remitted to rigorous imprisonment for 1 year. Rigorous imprisonment for 1 year. I was watching some sort of an interview of a jailer, who the jailer was in the news for some reason. Okay, so he had seen some internal, feuds within the prison system, deaths in the prison system, and he was the last person to sort of hang one serial murderer. Okay, so in one of his interviews, I remember him saying that there was a very peculiar case. There was this one lady who was a North Indian who had come to the South, had some issues with the husband, was staying in a hotel, and was waiting to go back to whichever part. I think she was Bengali. I'm not sure exactly. And the baby, she had a baby, a young child, and she was like maybe early 20s, educated family. She was educated. But then what happened was, when the baby was crying, and maybe like, she hit the baby on the head, or, it just got knocked on the head by the door, something along those lines. And turns out that the baby stopped breathing. She takes the baby to the hospital, and it was in somewhere in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and she did not know the language. And then after a point, she screams at the staff for not doing their job. The staff say that, you've actually brought in a dead a baby, you are going to prison, something like this. And then turns out that she had to spend some time in prison. And then because of her nature and, all of that, there was remission. Okay, remission as in reduction of the period that she had to serve. Baby Tara. I don't know the details. I have a very hazy memory. I just remember some stories that I sort of use to link to, these topics that I have. Okay, which helps me sort of remember these topics well. Maybe, are you talking about something that is more recent, Baby Tara?
No, sir, it's quite old.
Okay, then maybe it is that case. Okay, where have you heard about this?
Crime Patrol.
Okay, Crime Patrol. Okay. I just I think, okay, I see what you're talking about, Baby Tara. Okay, I'm not sure exactly when. I think this episode is somewhere in early 90s or something like that, right? There's an old documentary, old video. I'm not sure, but similar. Okay, if I'm sure that you can understand the not exactly the case, but reduction or remission from 2 years of rigorous imprisonment to 1 year of rigorous imprisonment. Okay, but good, if you can link it to episodes that what you have read, or your own sort of stories that you remember from Crime Patrol or whichever show that you guys follow, that is also going to sort of help you in remembering things. Okay, well connected. Okay, so what is respite? Okay, respite is the fourth one. Okay, and we have one more. So it denotes awarding a lesser sentence in place of one that is originally awarded. Okay, and due to some sort of a special fact. So meaning, let's say there is a physical disability of the convict, or let's say there is a pregnancy of a woman offender. So at that particular point, if there is a lesser sentence, then we can call it a respite. Okay, then we can call it a respite. And respite is basically just like the word in English, what it means. What does the word mean? Okay, some sort of respite from, let's say, the heat, respite from the sun. Okay, some sort of a small little period of, what is the right word? Relief. Okay, some sort of a relief, small period, small relief types. Okay, but the point that is important here is awarded due to some special fact, like a physical disability or pregnancy. So remember that. Okay, remember that. And then finally you have the next one and the final one, that is your reprieve. Okay, which is your reprieve. So in reprieve, you have a stay of the execution for a certain period of time, okay, and that time period could be when the convict has time to sort of seek pardon or a commutation from the president. Okay, and what was commutation? Commutation was what?
Substitution.
Substitution. Wonderful. Okay, wonderful job. Okay, so these are your sort of important sort of terms and things that you want to keep in mind. And things that you want to keep in mind. The president can pardon sentences inflicted by the court-martial. So let us say Jack Nicholson is going to be pronounced guilty, okay, and can be court-martialed. The president, can sort of, pardon sentences. Similarly, the president can pardon death sentence. Now, however, the governor cannot. Now, when we do this chapter called President, it sort of makes a lot of sense, not in the very first reading, but in subsequent readings, it is better you do both of them side by side. You do them side by side. And there are reasons for this. Because 80% of their roles are the same. Okay, so if you've read your President, okay, 80% of your governor's chapter is going to be the same. But however, there'll be small differences in your governor's chapter that will be very fresh in, after you read your president's chapter. So you know that all you have to remember is these 20, where there are some differences. Okay, so president is like this, but the governor's role is not in that manner. The governor's role is sort of relatively different. The rest of it is going to be quite similar. Okay, and that you will notice because in your governor's chapter, if you go, a lot of it, they will keep mentioning it as a comparison between your president and the governor. In fact, you will have tables as well. Can you tell me the chapter number for your governor's chapter? I'm guessing 25, 26, 27, something like that.
It's 30.
It's your 30. Can you see 3 tables there in that chapter? You will see you're comparing veto powers of the president and the governor. Okay, the president's role central, okay, in the central government, in the union government, is sort of similar to what the governor's role is in the state. Is similar to what the governor's role is in the state. Okay, so if he has some veto powers with regards to the bills that we've just seen, what exactly will be the role of the governor with regards to the bills that are there in the state legislature? 80% of the answer will be the same, exactly the same. However, there will be some aspects that are sort of different and there'll be some logic behind it. We can take a look at that. Similarly, if you take a look at the ordinance making power of the president and the governor, okay, almost 80% of it is the exact same. However, there will be small little chunk that will be different. Similarly, there is another table that talks about comparing the pardoning powers of the president and the governor. 80% of it will be the same. For instance, okay, the governor and the president both have sort of similar sort of powers when it comes to your suspension of the death sentence, remission of the death sentence, commutation of the death sentence. But however, pardoning power alone, it is only for the president and not for the governor. And what was your pardoning? Pardoning was completely absolving the said party from the sentences, the punishments, the disqualifications and whatnot. So that way, if you do, and this is not only for president and governor chapter, right? When you have a PM, you have for a PM, you have your CM. Similarly, if you have parliament chapter, you have your state legislature. Okay, if you have a council of ministers, you're going to have council of ministers here as well, state. Right? So this will sort of reduce the time that you have to spend and give you better clarity when you're studying this. Okay. So just keep that in mind, another sort of a pointer. Okay. So it'll ensure that you're strong in all of these. Okay. So the president can pardon the court-martial sort of verdicts, and the president can pardon death sentence. The governor is not going to be able to. Okay. So the governor is not going to be able to. So certain other sort of, fine points if you see here. If the state law prescribes death sentence, the power to grant pardon, however, is again going to be with the president and not the governor. So the governor still does not have that power, even if the state law is prescribing the death sentence, right? So these finer sort of points that you might miss. If there's a question about, hey, but there is a state law that says that there is death sentence, so shouldn't it be the governor's role? No, the governor has no role when it comes to, pardoning of the death sentence. Okay, but he has certain roles: suspending, remitting, commutation, all of that they have a role. So in other words, suspension, remission, commutation, they have equal roles, but in terms of pardoning, it's only the president. So 20% sort of difference.
All right, guys, so that brings us to the close of our video. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you found the video to be useful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the very next video.